Welcome back to another episode of the Film Hackers Talk Show. My name is Maritza, and today I'm taking you on a journey, all right? We've spoken to actors, we've spoken to sound engineers, directors, but I think it's time we moved away from the physical 3D versions of people and talked about the people we create. 3D, 2D, all other Ds available for the creators at the creator's discretion. But I'm excited to have this conversation because this is something I'm passionate about as a watcher, a viewer, whatever you choose to call yourself if you're in that department as well. And I'm also passionate about the growing industry in Uganda. What am I talking about? Animation! Animation! Lovers of cartoons, whatever you choose to call them in your home, we won't judge you. But if you are a lover of animation, this is where you need to be. And today we have a very, very special guest. So I'm excited to introduce the CEO of Creatures Animation. We have known Creatures Animation for bringing us beautiful work like AKalabanda Ate My Homework, Disney Plus's Chizazi Moto, and also more recently, which I'm excited about, Kunda and Friends, and much, much more that we'll find out from the one and only, coming from Creatures Animation, Raymond Malinga. Welcome.
Thank you. That was excellent.
Stop.
That was excellent.
For real though?
Like that was really excellent.
Don't make me feel good.
Right.
How are you?
I'm great. And how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you here. I love people who talk.
Mm-hmm.
I love people who create. I love people who... I like you.
Yeah, I like you
people.
too. And one of my favorite things to do in life is conversation.
Stop.
I love it.
You know this is supposed to be an hour. We might make it 2.
Let's just go with the flow. Just go. I love conversation because you get to experience the life of another person. Because, you know, I only have my POV in life, you know?
True.
And conversation, I'm like, wow, that's how that person sees life. And it's just an opportunity to learn something new.
How can you as an animator say you only have your POV? Like you're the business of storytelling.
Yeah, so the thing, okay, now that's one of the things that drew me to animation. I have, okay, so I'm going to sound a little bit mad here, but like I have conversations with my characters like constantly.
In your head?
Yes, it's a thing I'm just doing all the time.
Yeah.
And I can't stop it. At first I used to say like, let me stop it, then I do something else. I'm like, no, let them just talk. If they want to talk, let them talk.
Yes.
Have conversations in my head. So I just love information, building worlds, possibilities, and I've kind of come to accept that some of these things might never see the light of day, but that's not the point, right? The point is that I get to do it.
What does the light of day mean? Actual production or putting it down on a storyboard?
No, so like I write, I obsessively write all the time, and I thumbnail, right? I thumbnail and draw like a lot of ideas I have, but I've kind of grown to accept that some of these stories I have may never enter production, but I've also learned that not everybody is fortunate enough to have the ability to think like that.
Yes.
You know? So I just take it as a blessing that I can think and come up with things, you know. And if one of them gets picked up, then the rest of you get to see it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in an animation format. If I get to write something, if I get to do a play, if I get to do anything else, if it's a comic, I will just let the art tell me where it wants to go. You know.
Tell us where the art has taken you, because you sound mad.
Yeah.
In a good way.
This is mad, I'm okay with it, to be honest.
In a very good way. And I really appreciate the madness of creatives because we are convinced from as soon as we're born, you know, to be in line, get in order. If something doesn't look like what people are familiar with, remove it, get rid of it. And yet, when we grow up and become creatives, it is those things that tell the best stories. It is those things that open us up as human beings in many ways that, you know, we can't even justify or explain. So I love madness. It's great.
Yeah. So and yeah, that's the thing where creatives are constantly in conflict with a world that is telling you not to imagine beyond reality. You know, we're constantly in that conflict. You're saying, I want that chair to be blue, but it's not blue, it's red. You know, but I'm like, but in my head, it could be blue. And they're like, but it's not, it's red. I'm like, I know it's red, but it could be blue.
What if it was blue?
But what if it was blue? That's a fantastic conversation to have. So for me, animation, it's the ultimate art form. Because you get to create a world from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of animation. Like, you start with a blank canvas, usually, an idea in your head, and you have to make it feasible. Right, for everybody else. Because like just because you have an idea in your head, those things don't usually translate successfully. And at every single stage of production, you're fighting not to lose what you had in your head, or you're trying to improve upon it, you know? So it's just strange. So like animation, you asked me where animation has taken me. My backstory.
Yes, please.
I was born on a stormy night.
Skip to the good part.
Okay. No, I studied in Malaysia. I got the opportunity to go to Malaysia, and
that's nice. That was a growing tech education place for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it wasn't my first choice. I wanted to go to the USA. It was bloody expensive, you know. And back then, convincing your parents to do animation. Right now, you can try to convince them, and they might accept, you know.
They've
but
at
back
least
then,
watched Inside Out.
They've watched some things, and not even that. There's several demonstrations of success now. Like you mentioned Kizazimoto, Kunda and friends. Like a parent can be like, oh, so you mean this can actually be a career? But back then, like there was no example.
Yeah.
You know, I thank my parents for that opportunity. But then again, just because your parents give you the opportunity, you have to go and seize it. You know, so when I went to Malaysia, I just worked my butt off. I was fortunate enough, like my final year project, it was called White Collar Time, with my 2 teammates, Risky Pratama Novianto, I love his name.
That's a powerful name.
Have
you put him in a character yet?
Soon. I just love. I don't name drop a lot. Then there's another one called Diden Anagong. There are actually 3 people. So our short film, we got to go to Japan. Our final year project, Japan. We won a couple of awards in Malaysia, Indonesia.
Amazing.
And it was really cool because that was the first opportunity to do. You know, student projects are like that, the final year project or the student project. People just take them as an assignment.
Yes, we need to graduate quickly. Move on.
But I took it as a test run for running a company, because it's the first time we were trying to all come together and say, this is what we're going to make. Everyone obviously has their idea of what the film should look like. Somebody there is saying, for me, it's an assignment. Why are you guys taking this seriously?
Relax.
And then you have to like almost wrangle people. And say, you get in line, you get in line. And they'll sometimes tell you to get in line as well. And it's this test run. Can we, as this small group of people, make something that we will use as the foundation in our actual lives, like the business lives later on? And that's how I took mine. So after that experience, it was difficult, you know? But after that experience and won all these awards, and then I came back. No, I actually didn't come back. I was offered a job during our final film showcase by a studio called Wow Animation. And Wow Animation were these studio veterans in Malaysia, incredible guys. And so I joined their team.
By veterans. Right out of
like
school.
those guys, like they are single-handedly, like some of them are single-handedly responsible for the Malaysian industry and where it is. So I'm very fortunate enough to call those people my friends now. And so I started working there. I was hired, I think, as an animator, Then I graduated to more of a concept developer and a screenwriter. And but then I obviously had to quit my job, because to me, working in Malaysia was not actually the plan. The plan was always to come back home.
How long did you do that for with the Wow?
I think it was like about 6 to 7 months, you know.
That's a real internship.
6 to 7 months. And the thing is, I learned so much from those guys. And as I said, like, it doesn't matter where you're placed, it's whether or not you seize that moment, you know. So it was a difficult choice to stay in Malaysia for me. And yet it was funny. It was a difficult choice for everyone else for me to come back to Uganda. I don't know if that makes sense.
For the people in Malaysia?
No, not in Malaysia. I'm saying the people in Uganda. They're like, you got a job in Malaysia. That's great. Stay there. You know, you have this opportunity. For me, it was
They didn't miss you?
I guess what people want is your security and your success and everything, and they often believe that that's going to come through going abroad and escaping, you know, the realities of where you are. But I don't know.
You're brave for coming back, because
I've been told.
No, I don't say it lightly, because I like to think of myself as one of the few people from my year of schooling that made a conscious decision to completely give everything I have to Uganda. That means I'm not studying outside the country, I'm not working outside the country, and even when I do think of the jobs I want to get from outside the country, I want them to come and find me here. So me as me, I've carried that burden of a mindset.
You just can't help it. You
right?
don't know why. It's just you.
It's just me. But then to hear someone who's actually traveled and had success in their travels, and then consciously, you were not fired,
Yeah, no, I wasn't fired.
consciously releases that to bring everything that you have done back home, especially in a creative space, in an art space, that you're going to have to actively build.
Yeah.
Do you see why? I mean, I guess why it's a really big deal.
And that's why I don't blame anyone for not wanting me to come back. You know, but then at the same time, just call it naivete. Maybe.
Which worked
Maybe
in
I was
our
just
favor.
naive. Maybe I was naive. But the thing is that I just believed I could. And also, like, I make some promises to myself. Like, so at around that time, I think I was around 20. And I told myself, like, my 10-year plan was like, if I do not have something that looks like a studio by the time I'm 30,
Yeah.
recalibrate, rethink your your career path. I might not necessarily get out of animation, but I might just say, okay, this is just some dream, and it's difficult, because if it can't be done in 10 years, you know, if significant progress can't be seen in 10 years, and I'm not saying it being done, I'm saying just significant progress, because I believe in demonstrations of success. You cannot,
I like it.
yeah, I just believe in it, and you have to put, you know, it's almost like you have to trick your mind into motivating itself. So you give yourself a countdown. So if you say in 10 years this, right, and every single day, every other week, you're just repeating it to yourself, guys, I'm on a countdown. You don't understand this. And other people are like, no, we'll do that tomorrow. I'm like, nah, you can do it tomorrow. I can't. So my decision to leave Malaysia was if I stayed there, I would come back to Uganda in 3 years, right? Like if I took on that contract. And I think I left Malaysia in 2014, December 22nd, I'll never forget. Then I started my company in 2015, January 1st, with my brother Robin. And what's funny is that if I'd taken that contract, AKalabanda, my homework, came out in December 15th, 2017. So I looked at it and I said, if I had stayed there, and you know, of course, like maybe the experience would have made the timeline shorter, maybe. But then the street smarts that I had to learn here in Uganda, right? How to operate, you know, the Uganda street smarts. And I think that's what actually took the longest time. Just how does this country actually function? How am I going to do it here? How am I going to train people here? Because
how does money move?
How does money move, you know? And so because of that countdown, I was like, in the 3 years that I would have spent there, I have to have a significant thing that I have achieved if I choose to come back. So AKalabanda, my homework, came out in 2017, and I was like, okay, so those 3 years that I chose not to be that side were not wasted.
Your 10-year anniversary is coming up.
No. I would like go from 2015.
From 2014?
From 2014 for my company. 2015, which is next year, that's when we make 10 years.
I'm talking about you leaving, the 10
leaving.
years.
Oh yeah, so that one there, I'm actually ahead of schedule on some things.
No way.
Yeah, so I've actually I've changed my targets now.
You had to edit.
I'm now looking at 2020 to 2030 now. So that's what I'm on now.
Oh, because you finished the 10-year in 5 years. Oh, bless you so much. I love to hear it.
I finished a lot of the things that I thought I would have achieved, like let's say in the next in this period of time, I achieved them already. So that continuing the story. So after AKalabanda, my homework, that single-handedly launched my career, I think, in the African space. And my biggest achievement is not the film, it's finishing it with a team. Because I had the choice when I came back to just say, I am just going to be this freelancer and be alone. Right. So the first person I trained was my brother, who was a business administration student at the time. He was just finishing, but we had been corresponding. You know, he's a lover of writing and a lover of film as well, and we had been corresponding the whole of Malaysia, saying we're going to start the studio, do all of this stuff, and yeah, and like I was supposed to be the creative end, and he was the business end. These days it's more like
he was the business.
He was supposed to be the business.
I think I have met him as a creative.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. Like that's a remarkable thing about Robin, and I give him his props, because if someone steps into our studio, you wouldn't even know that he's the person who he has the least creative experience.
I would never know.
Yeah, maybe I'm just like putting him out there now, but like the things that, but he deserves that credit, because he has absorbed, and takes a lot of humility, you know, to absorb from your older brother, you know, right? And also it takes a lot of patience for me to like
impart.
Impart the knowledge. Like, he's not getting it sometimes, you know. But I give him a lot of credit for how far he has come. And right now, I'm here doing this interview, but I confidently know that the studio is being run by him, and they're doing a great job. You know?
That is so amazing to hear. You know, you usually hear stories like this when we are celebrating your 50-year anniversary and contribution to the industry. But from literally the last, I guess maybe 5 or 10 minutes that you have been telling us your story, you have shown a wealth of experience that people only ever witness after decades. Because I'm talking building a company, building an audience, because you had to, as creatures, you had to do that as well.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Teaching people your craft, making very tough decisions, you know, about the business of your art. And for us as creatives, I think we're not privileged enough to know that that's something that we can be successful at early in our career. We usually start to reap the benefits of the business of our art maybe several decades later. But from what you're saying, this is a planning and this is an execution that you've been able to do in less than 10 years.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, you have to be intentional, right? You also have to be very humble. It's almost like it's a combination.
I like the very.
Yeah, it's a combination of having. It's one of our mantras, which is an audacity to dream in our company. But it's this thing of.
Can I borrow it?
You can borrow it, but like it's our mantra. And and the thing is, you have to move with an audacity, but you have to be so humble that when you don't know something, you are willing to ask and listen. And because of that, I consistently just love learning. I just love listening. I just like saying, I don't know, tell me, you know? And once you tell me, I also point out to you, I think that might not be correct, you know? And the best kind of conversations are when telling someone something and they're telling me something and we're both gaining from each other,
and
right?
both exploring
and
how far the
we
conversation can
leave
go.
smarter than we came in.
Yeah.
And that's just what I aim. And so even with my teammates, sometimes I'm like, guys, I already know this thing is not going to work, right? So just listen, you know? And sometimes they're just not going to listen. That's the truth. And the way I handle my team, and I've learned to handle people, or I've handled them in the past 9-10 years of my company, has been giving people room to fail. And so what that looks like as a leader is they don't see you carrying the burdens for them. It's almost similar to, I would not even dare say this, but like how how a mother, the child doesn't even know how much the mom is doing for them or the father is doing for them. But eventually later on in life, they're like, oh man, daddy, you did what? You know, you did this. So like for me, my approach is, and I had to, because in Uganda, we have a lot of people who are passionate, you know, but sometimes that passionate comes off as, it can come off as arrogance sometimes, which is, I know everything. I watch a YouTube tutorial, right? But I'm like, dude, like I also watched that YouTube tutorial, man. It's not that I didn't watch it, you know? But the point is that there's something else to learn. And I'm not even saying it's only learning from me. I'm here to learn from you too. Because I came from Malaysia with all my Malaysian knowledge, you know? But these guys are here. They're like, nah, man, that's not how things work here.
Here.
And I have to be humble enough to say, okay, so tell me, how do they work? You know? And then they explain it to me and I'm like, that one there we're going to change. You know? I don't believe that one. Then I go, right?
I like that.
So that's just my approach to things. Oh, sorry, I kind of strayed off the topic. The thing was...
that's, you're pointing out very important things, because artist brain, like you said, is a mad one, right? And our translation of our passion sometimes is misplaced. That's how we get arrogant. That's how we miss things that are right in front of us, because either we're too passionate or we're too heightened in whatever creative, I guess, realm we have entered.
We're all up in our heads.
We're all up in our heads, right? So for you to be able to step out, even as, because you're not coming in as a leader, you're coming in as a creative, but to step up and apply leadership qualities and apply I am running a business qualities. And I've had your brother speak a little bit, you know, like when he's talking on the phone, like when we're working and, you know, he's handling a phone call from office. And the Robin that's recording my voice and the Robin on the phone are two different people. And the ability to do that as a creative is impeccable. You know what I mean? And it says a lot to what you say, like the industry that you're in, people don't take you seriously, but you have to act accordingly in order for people to take you seriously. I don't know if you understand the magnitude of what you have done. That's what I'm trying to reiterate back to you.
Thank you, but I guess I'm just too busy doing it. You know?
Which is even better. That's why I liked the very humble part.
Yeah, no, because I'm just too busy doing it, you know. There are moments where, so like here's the thing, the nature of, like let's say, for example, AKalabanda ate my homework. If my recollection is correct, I think we finished that film about 3 months before the premiere date. So
was the premiere date already set, or
we had already, so we followed a Hollywood business model. We marketed the movie for, I think, the first poster went up in February 2016. And there was pressure. People like, they were so used to when you show something the next day it's there. We're like, no. So we were teaching ourselves marketing. We were trying to mimic this. The great saying is monkey see, monkey do. So if you want to learn how has the other person done it, who has done it successfully, so you just go, we scrolled back to, like, let's say a Disney post, like let's say they're announcing a movie. We scrolled back to the Facebook, it was Facebook at that time, and then we saw what was the first thing they put when they announced this, like this movie. Then we're like, okay, then this, then we're like, that one won't work here. We can't do that, that's too expensive. So we just kind of tried to track that, right? And we did the same thing. And so like we set out the date. It was December 15th. It was at Design Hub, I remember. And we said we have to market this thing as much as we can. And I think the estimate of people who came was about like 200 to 200 people, 300 people. That's a big crowd of people, right? And like the thing is, and it's funny because it's really strange because I love I love not knowing things because it gives you this I love a delicate balance between not knowing and knowing things. You know, I love living in that space because that space keeps you humble, right? But also gives you confidence. It's a delicate balance, you know.
But not many people know that.
That's why we're having this conversation.
I'm a huge advocate for you don't have to know everything going in, but you have to be open to finding out. So when I hear other people, especially men, because the men in my life, they have to know everything. What are you doing walking these streets comfortable not knowing, right? So hearing that from you, for me, that's mind-blowing.
It's the way I personally operate. It's the way I try to instill. These are the values I try to instill into my teammates.
Oh my God.
I try to tell them that why, like if a guy, like we are 12 people.
Okay.
And it took a while for my teammates to understand this, but now they do. I told them, listen, that guy is good at that, that guy is good at that, that guy is good at that. If you get like, let's say your side gig, right? And you bring it here, why do you sweat at home doing it alone? Yet you know there's a guy there who's way better at it. Give it to that guy, split the money, get it done.
Produce faster.
Get it done. Well, you're
money.
all comfortable. You're not stressed.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. Like for me, like if somebody comes and does any work with me, I know my competencies. So I'm what you would call a 3D generalist. So what I do is that I know how to do everything in the pipeline, but I only learned how to do everything in the pipeline so that I could teach other people. And I'm like, finally, I don't have to do that thing because you're way better than me at that thing, you know.
Delegation.
And I delegate things, and I try to delegate as much as possible, and I only delegate to people who are passionate about the thing, because, you know, making a film is difficult. You know, it is difficult, but it's also one of the most fulfilling things you can do, because when it finishes, we have had like conversations at the end of like an episode of Kunda and Friends, an episode of AKalabanda Ate My Homework, and you just sit, like 3 months before anyone has watched the film, you sit and say, we actually made something really good here, right? Right? Yeah. But the thing is, it's good to us. It's good to a few people we've market tested it with, but we don't know if it's going to be good to the general populace, you know? So releasing it to people, and then they say, that was incredible, that's like the final stage of a film.
That's beautiful.
You see, so that's just the way it works. So like they say you make a film thrice, but I love Quentin Tarantino. He said that you make it 4 times. So a film is made when you write it, when you come up with the idea, when you're shooting it, that's the principal photography, when you edit it, right? And then the final stage is when the audience watches it. Because the truth is that when you write the film, you have all these crazy ideas in your head. But when you go to shooting, you realize, man, I'm not going to be able to shoot any of that stuff. So the film is like kind of remade. And then when you go to editing, you're like, okay, so I think that shot we shot wasn't actually as great as we thought, but principal photography has wrapped up, you know? So you have to come and say, like, we're going to try to figure out if we can linger on that shot a little longer, this. So you're remaking the film. But then when the audience watches it, they laugh at things that you never even intended for them to laugh at. And then you're like, this is a completely different film from what I made.
From what I created.
You know, right? And I love that experience. So my thing is like, if I can get an idea from that, through all those stages, to the satisfaction from the audience, and whoever that may be, you have your target, but then again, your target might change. It might end up being
could change literally the first post you put up advertising, and then the audience has changed.
Yeah, you find out that you're appealing to like little young girls for an action movie.
I'm a huge Kunda and Friends fan.
I know. I saw you during the premiere. I'm very aware you are. We've skipped to Kunda and Friends. We haven't gone through Kizazi Moto.
We're going to go through. No, I'm just letting you know that you just never know, because the show is
that's what you mean.
Evidently not made for me.
Okay.
I mean, I guess
it kind of is.
It's so made for me, but like I don't feel like the target audience you would put on paper to sell, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of me's. I found many adults.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like the thing is that people forget that it's adults making this thing.
Right? I think we also forget that. I want us to now go back to the premiere actually of AKalabanda Ate My Homework, and I guess speak also on the animation industry, because that was a very significant moment for us. I think one of the first times we celebrated a big animation movie was back in 2011. The name of that animation skipped my mind, but back in 2011 it wasn't as loud because maybe social media was a bit more quiet. There was a few newspaper articles. But for AKalabanda Ate My Homework, first of all, the FOMO. You guys built crazy FOMO. We waited for AKalabanda Ate My Homework, and then we waited.
We waited too.
You also waited.
Just to let you guys know, we also waited. So we're both waiting.
So you know, breaking out into a scene where you have now cultivated a hunger. Because you did do that. You've cultivated this hunger. You have cultivated an expectation for not just us as viewers, but also creatives in the industry. You know, animators. I have a few friends who've been to film school and, you know, have dabbled with animation. And even through their schooling, they're looking at creatures. So you're essentially changing the game. And now you're at the premiere of this, your first product that you're putting out. Tell us about that experience. Did you achieve what you meant to achieve, or did you surpass? Like, what were the expectations? What was met? What wasn't? Just
in retrospect, we did, you know. But like at the time, like I think the biggest worry was like we thought we had a good film, right? We thought we had a good film, but as I said, it's the fourth stage is when the audience watches it, and you know, like. Make no doubt do not doubt this for a moment. There are people there who have come to watch it not go well.
But
they're there, you know. I'm not worried about them.
I'm also not worried about them. It puzzles me. It's like you've spent transport.
No, it's funny, you know. But the thing is this: there are people out there, but that's not who I'm trying to target. I'm trying to target the people who are going to love it, and I want them to discover themselves there. So there's some people who came, who are like, I'm excited for this thing. I need to see it. Then there are people who are there saying, maybe. But I'm open, you know? Then there are other people who didn't even come for it. But are like, wait a minute, this thing was done here? And those are the people I'm trying to find, you know? And if you don't like it, if you, for any other reason, for whatever reason, I'm also a big critic of films. But what I've come to learn is that you need to also focus on your customers, the people who are going to buy it, and try to maximize those people. Right, because I think people try to focus too much on trying to change the minds of people who have already decided they're not going to like this product. Right? I'm interested in the people who are like, wow, I love this, you know? And I want to make those people happy. That's what I'm thinking about, you know? So I have a particular sense of humor. We have a humor that's, because like when we were packaging AKalabanda at my homework, the aim was always, can we make something that a global audience would love, right? But Ugandans would still feel is their own, right?
Nailed it.
And it was a thought process, trying to figure out like what to do, where to set it, all these things. And I think one of one of the most precious moments with the AKalabanda at my homework, I know we're talking about the premiere, but like just to go forward, when we went to Nigeria, was won an award in Nigeria.
Yeah.
One of the judges at the Free Festival, he was an old white man, I'm guessing about 70, Frenchman. He found me in the after party thing, and he said, do you know why I voted for your thing? Like for your film? And I said, no, because like this is an old Frenchman talking to me. And he said, it took me back to my days when I was in school and I lied about homework. And I said, we achieved it. Because if
you played on nostalgia.
You know, I don't even know, like the thing is like, everyone could relate to it.
Yes. And
that was great, you know, but you also don't want it to lose its identity as being from Uganda, because my comparative advantage is that I'm a Ugandan. You can't take that away from me. What's unique about me is that I'm from here, you know, and if I can bring that to the world, right, the Japanese have done it, the Americans have done it, the French have done it, then why not us, you know? And
you're doing it well, I must say.
It's intentional. It's also very difficult. The amount of market testing we did, right? We tested the characters. We linked in 2016. And our testing was very strange, because people say, "How come you didn't test with me?"
I want to ask, what does that look like?
So this is something that I learned like in school, and I also learned when I was working at WOW, but also by studying and watching all these directors. You know, people focus on the film, but I'm less interested in the film, and I'm more interested in the decisions that were made to make that film. How were those decisions made? So what happens that in the behind the scenes, someone will say, so we took it to a focus group and they said this, but everyone else who's watching that documentary or whatever skips that part because they're looking for the VFX breakdown. I'm like more interested in that, because I'm like, what did those people tell you that made you change that film to make sure that it's a success?
Yeah.
You get it? So I'll give you an example. With AKalabanda at my homework, and I say this, it was a teachable moment for me and also my team. We had ladies on our team.
Nice.
They're working on our team, but here's the thing. We were testing the film, like, and the animatic, these are just like sketches, versions of the film, right? And it was doing well. People were laughing where they needed to laugh. And by the way, we're testing with young kid, old person, a teacher, an old woman, an old man, people's parents, just trying to see, right, as wide as we can get, right? Because it's the first. Whose
grandmother did you involve?
No, I remember somebody. It was one of my teammates said that they went to. Was it? I can't remember who it was, but it was like it was an elderly lady. I think it was like about 70, right? To just watch it, and if she can comfortably watch it, even if she doesn't laugh throughout, as long as she doesn't say, I don't like this thing. Yes. You're like, okay, we're going to be good with that demographic, right? And because we didn't know, we're at the beginning of the career, of our careers, as the studio was just starting out. It was going to be our flagship pretty much. Yeah. And we just said, we don't want to piss off anybody, hopefully, right? So we just were testing.
Went wide.
We're testing and learning. And you see, like, can these little stick figures, because that's how the film looks like before you actually take it into actual production. Can these stick figures make a kid laugh? If a kid can laugh with those stick figures, but here's the thing, one girl said, why aren't there any girls talking in this film? The nature of the film at that point had no girl talking. And we were like, wait, how did we miss that? Yeah. So there was a whole sequence. Now, the sequence with Amia, the girl who faints and falls like this, we removed an entire sequence with a boy and rewrote and reanimated that sequence to include the female, like a female perspective, so they can feel like they're included.
Even made her swoon.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, and the thing is this, as filmmakers, we run into these kind of feedback. It's feedback, right? And I'll also share something about that I learned from WOW, actually. I can't take credit for this, but we are presented with feedback like every single day, every single week, every single month. It's up to you to see which feedback. But I think you should, I would not advise anyone to take all the feedback. Don't act on all of it.
But see it.
But somebody else would have heard that. Because it just came. It just came like a routine. Why aren't there any girls like this? Oh, okay. Yeah. We even had our excuses. I can't remember what our excuses were.
There were reasons.
There are reasons. then we went back with Robin and we're like, my guy, we gotta change this. But where? Now it became, we've already modeled characters, we already planned things. We're like, where can we do this? And we're like, okay, we figured out where to put her and what to do. And a testament to its success is that I met a person that I knew from when I was younger, and she told me that she didn't know I'd made it, AKalabanda did my homework, but she saw the trailer in a Nabisunsa group. Right? A Nabisunsa group. And
so imagine it's in the Nabisunsa group and there's not a single girl.
Yeah, no, but it was funny because like the thing is that I feel like the reason why we did well with like the female demographics as well, right, was because we included that. We made that choice to do that. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. And so just to summarize the premiere, for me, the premiere, I'll keep on saying this. The premiere for me was not for me. It was a chance to bring my team in front of everybody and to show that it was not one person who made this, it was these guys who made it, you know? That was it. And as I said, it's a demonstration of success.
Your intention is crazy.
You have to be intentional. Man, do you know what country we're in?
I am aware.
There's a lot of random stuff going on. You have to be intentional. You have to just say, this is what I'm going to do, and it's probably not going to work out, but because you have the eye on the prize, even if you're swayed this way, that way, this way, that way, you still have an intent. Because I can't tell you that everything that we intended to do turned out the way we originally planned it, but like when you look back now, you're like, wait, it is everything we intended to do. So yeah, I'm just too busy doing it to realize whether or not it's actually even working, to be honest. But
you just have to trust the unfolding because you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Like I set, and just to let you know, we are way ahead of the audience all the time. So as I mentioned, 3 months.
I assume that.
We are 3 months, with AKalabanda did my homework, we were 3 months ahead of everybody, so we had watched the film. So we started transitioning into what we're going to do later. Some things pan out, some things don't, you know. And the reason why I do this, I also learned this by watching and digesting what the larger studios do, is that they give themselves room to fail.
Yeah.
You see, so I try to give my teammates room to fail. Like, we're gonna fail. Not everything we're going to put down is going to be correct. No.
I mean, so far so good.
Because you're seeing the results after we've failed in secret.
Oh, so you failed in secret,
we
then
failed
give us...
so much, like so much. The conversations were just sitting, like we can have, I remember when we had it's like a 2-hour or 3-hour conversation on naming files. Naming files. And nobody wanted to be in that meeting. Nobody wanted to be in that meeting, I guarantee you.
And it lasted 3 hours.
Like it was, I think, like, give or take, but it was probably like 2 hours. And we sat in there, underscore, capital letter, this is this. Everyone is like, no, but what if? And so like one department person says, but why would I name it like that? That doesn't make sense, right? And then you're like, why doesn't it make sense? Then the person tells you why it doesn't make sense. Then you tell them why they don't make sense, you know? Then you go back and forth like this. And someone else says, guys, listen, okay, we've talked about this for a little bit too long. Then we talk. Then now we have a naming convention.
Oh my God.
You know? And we don't talk about that again.
Yeah.
You understand? So we those 2 hours.
You sacrifice that time.
And you sacrifice the time to solve that problem. Because I'm not interested in whose fault it was. I'm more interested in how does this, I don't want it to ever happen again. Because what we're up against is people with way more money, way more opportunities, way more like experience. They have 100 years. They have 100 years on us. Have 100 years on us, right? Disney celebrated 100 years last year. 100 years. Our film industry is like what? It's like just, has it even achieved puberty?
We've been upcoming since 1986.
But you see what I mean? But if you say give or take, how many years are those, right? Those are like what, 18 years, is it? Oh, I don't know, my maths is failing me here.
So I guess our industry is a bit of an adult.
Yeah, it's an adult that still has some pubescent qualities to it.
Like most adults.
Yeah, yes, like most adults, exactly. But that's the thing, like, it's like, and knowing that, I feel like if we are not to succeed, right? Let's just say,
God forbid.
God forbid, let it not be because we didn't try. And trying doesn't look like, oh, I got up in the morning and I was working hard. Sometimes trying just means better put that underscore underneath that did you say cat underscore version 1. Do not do cat underscore Maritza. Why are you naming the cat Maritza? You get what I mean, right? And like, and some of these things are not clear to the team at an earlier stage, but later on they're like, wow, if we did not do this, we would not have a system and a pipeline that's functional. So they've learned to appreciate these conversations. And I tell them, every single person who joins the team, I told them, watch. All of them are going to try to say whatever we're doing is wrong. Everyone, and it always happens.
And then?
And it's so funny because this is what the meetings go like. We let the person talk. We always let the person talk.
That's polite.
But just like this. And then you just see smiles across the room. People are like, wow, did I sound like this? Because this is weird. You know, I'm like, you all sounded like this.
Growth is beautiful.
You get it, right? So it's just fascinating. The things we care about are actually, we've gotten to this point whereby I think the animation is the least of our problems. We can make something animated. We can do it. Now, the scale, the scope depends on the resources, right? But we can make something animated. But the things we worry about are these other small indisciplines.
And they start as small indisciplines, but they become hurdles to a finished project.
Yes, to finishing a project.
To finishing a project. You have now released AKalabanda Ate My Homework. You have this powerful, beautiful team that you've put, in front of people. They now see what it takes, how much labor goes into putting together, something small and beautiful, but wonderful and, I guess groundbreaking, because it really was. How then do you convince people in the industry to follow your lead? Because you've set a precedent. I hope you're aware, because now you have set a precedent, and now you've created expectations for an audience, which the industry, which is not just carried by Robin Malinga, there are other players.
Raymond Malinga. You just name dropped my brother here, but it's okay.
The Malingas.
I love my brother, so it's okay. It's good to be mistaken with him, so it's fine.
He's a good man.
Okay.
Okay, so which is not just carried by Raymond Malinga, but it's a whole industry. And now you've set expectations. How do you convince people to follow you?
I think the key word there is convince. I don't necessarily try to convince people. I think first of all, if you have a demonstration of success, people judge that, So you can say whatever you want to say about Raymond, you can say whatever you want to say about Robin, my teammates, whatever, but the thing is AKalabanda Ate My Homework exists and it's there. And I think if you're not curious as to how we managed to pull it off, that's on you. I'm not trying to convince you, but if you call me and ask me a question, I tell you some stuff, because I'm like, dude, and I think sometimes people are not satisfied with the answers I give them.
Yes.
Because they want to, they think it's some other trick. And I'm like, nah, it's just some discipline and like humility. And
You'll give us the number of your witch doctor one day.
And a sheer amount of arrogance to just think you can even do these things. Because
audacity.
Audacity, actually, let's call it this, audacity. To just think you can do this. And the thing is, at the point of AKalabanda Ate My Homework, I was the only degree holder on my team. The other guys have done some diplomas, some were self-taught, some didn't have even any experience. And you take what you have and give it to other people. And people tell me, hey, but they're going to leave you. They're going to go away. They're going to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I know that's going to happen. But the thing is that if I end up making this film, because my aim was not even to make it, my aim was to make it with minimum 2 people.
Really?
That was it. I just had to prove that you could make something with a team. That's it. So I couldn't make it alone, right? So I said, if I train that guy and he goes away, I train that guy and goes away, and we end up being 4 people who have finished it. Because people left. That's what people don't know about our studio. Some people left the studio.
Really?
And for different reasons. And some people leave because you see that guy there is probably came here to find our witch doctor, who our witch doctor was.
Yes.
And he finds out, now I've understood what it is. Then I'm like, then you wait for him to produce something. He hasn't produced it. He realizes It wasn't the whatever which doctor he found, he probably was seeing it, you know? He was just like imagining things, you know? Then other people, I'm like, hey, you seem to be, this seems like your profession, but you're forcing on this. You're more of a fan here. You're a fan of animation. But like you see, you're a fan of animation, but making one, do you want to see how that sausage is made? It is a nightmare to make some of this stuff. And you might stop being a fan. You get it? So I just tell this guy, hey, this I think is where you're supposed to go. And it was a difficult conversation, you know, these kind of people, you know. But then now where is the person? They're flourishing in that industry and we're still friends.
I love that for you.
Another person tells you, oh man, I've gotten this opportunity to leave the country, but they want to call where I'm employed, and find out my character and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let them call. And I recommend, take him, he's perfect, he's excellent, you know, and he goes. Right?
Are you a Ugandan?
No, because the thing is, and I told you, I think like one of my advantages is because, like one of my advantages is that I just live in that space of, I don't know, and I know some things. So the thing is, I don't know where that person is going to go. I keep on talking about this guy because where he ended up, and I don't know where he's going after that. The first person we ever employed, he's the guy who left. He went to Canada.
Nice.
And he studied at, for filmmakers, you know, Vancouver Film School. It's one of the most prestigious schools in the world. So he went to Vancouver Film School. And this is a guy we trained, you know, my first guy. And now he's working at Weta. So Weta is, these are guys who do Avatar, Transformers, right? And I'm like, dude, I have a guy in Weta, a Ugandan. Did you even know a Ugandan works at Weta?
That I trained.
Yes. So the thing is that I'm like, dude. And I'm like, I'm happy. Because he's way better than me at a bunch of things now. But we're still friends. If I text him, he texts back. And that's how you build a network, build relationships. Because I don't want to burn bridges. I try my best not to burn bridges. Sometimes you have to, right? If there are people who are too toxic in your life, right? I've come to learn that there are bad people in this world, right? But the thing is, or not necessarily bad people, but I think people
with bad characters,
with bad intentions. Maybe they're good on some other days, but they have bad intentions on some days. But my view on all of this stuff is that I just try my best to keep my eye on the prize. If I left WOW, which was in Malaysia, and they succeeded after that, you know, and I'm glad to say that I contributed to some of that success in a small part. But I left them, and our relationship is still great. I learned a very vital lesson there, that if a great person wants to leave, right, it's actually advantageous for you to just let them go. Because if you keep them there, that toxicity will spread. You know, I don't want to be here, you guys are keeping me here, right? But then again, everyone who leaves, I tell them, my aim is to make you regret leaving, right? So, like, and that's not like to do something negative to them. But it is to succeed.
It's good fuel.
It's to succeed. So, like, I feed off of it. I'm like, I wasn't able to give this person something.
What they needed.
This is never happening again, you know? So I just keep on doing it, you know? And that's how I'm operating.
Raymond, stop talking. Just stop talking. You're embarrassing a lot of company owners, a lot of creative
Man, we're still young,
leaders.
You know? We don't know where we're going. I hope this doesn't put a bullseye on my company like somebody.
No, not even bullseye or anything. I think you have a lot to teach, and I like talking to you about many things.
Candle wax. And,
candle wax.
Just to let you guys know, we were talking about candle wax before this.
There's a time we were in the Creatures studio.
What were we talking about, by the way?
Nonsense.
No, it wasn't nonsense. It was no, let's
But the way we were going about it was wild. But what I'm trying to explain is, I like talking to you about anything, right? Despite even having access to you talk about animations. But the reason I feel like I like talking to you about anything is because you have taken your art and made it a human connect, like you've gone beyond the art and made it something to help you connect with other humans on many levels.
But that's what art is.
But you see, the thing is,
that's what it is.
Artists don't translate that beyond just the creation of the art. I'll give you an example. My art, say radio, TV, or spoken word, right? It usually goes as far as my presentation. It doesn't go as far as teaching people that I can release you for you to go find your success and still be able to grow as a human being. That's human connections. What we do as artists is burn bridges because we are displeased with how our art has either been received or rejected or entangled with or we find many reasons of conflict as artists because we're sensitive about our things.
Yep.
And yet, the point of art is human connection on all possible levels, which we as artists and up-and-coming artists, especially in our generation, are failing to grasp. That's why I am mind blown.
It's my approach. That's it.
It's
just my approach.
It's your approach.
Yeah.
But it's not something that is common. Like, you need to teach people these things.
Well, I'm teaching my teammates. I'm teaching my
Clearly,
teammates. Yeah,
which I appreciate.
And what I hope is that my aim is that with these 12 people I have now, because we're hoping to expand soon, my hope is that with these 12 people, when they take on apprentices,
they do the same.
That they will impart the same values. And if I see them not doing it, I'll be like, hey guys, remember this. And there's that transition period, because the first transition was me with that foundational, like the foundation of the team, like the first people.
Yeah.
Can I, because there's one thing to say, oh my God, I'm a good this, I'm a good that.
Yeah.
But it's like being a parent. I'm not a parent yet, but think about it. Like, you get a child and you've said, man, I'm this guy who knows how to make money. Do you know how difficult it is to translate that to your child, and your child also becomes a person who makes money too? It's difficult, your child is like, nah, man, daddy, I don't want to do those things.
I failed to pick up the work ethic of my mom.
You see,
and
that's the thing. And it's also, there's a beauty to it, because you don't need to force it. Because what I've also learned is, I've learned this, that you need to listen to what your teammate is telling you. So someone might be in love with a particular aspect of production.
Yes.
What we do at the studio, what are you good at? What aren't you good at? What would you like to do? What don't you want to do? Those are the 4 things. And for every single one of my teammates, I know what that is with them. So I'm like, there are guys in my studio who have never animated. Never. We'll never ask them, even if the resources are low, right? We'll never ask them to animate, right? Because if you make that guy animate, the guy will start dragging his feet, or the girl will start dragging.
Work will never move.
Right? It will never move. And that energy spreads. So I try my best to protect people from those things, right? I try my best. Sometimes it's not it's not like a science, obviously it's like, we're trying to get it down to a science, but sometimes you just have to kind of be flexible, because not everybody's, we're a small team, and everyone has multiple skills that they're doing. So no one is in like one department, they're like in 3 departments. But if, let's just say there are 12 departments and you're in 3 departments, there's like a fall off. You can reach, let's say, this part, the maximum of 6, but I will never take you through these other 6. You get what I mean, right? So I try my best to do that, to keep the energy up. Right?
That's understanding human resource. That is,
man.
Let me tell you.
You get in here to make cartoons, you end up being an HR manager.
An HR manager. The reason I'm actually very excited about how, you're explaining of how you've put together Creatures Animation, or even built the products that you've built, is because we tend to neglect that, and it speaks a lot to it feeds a lot into our success, but we neglect it. And I want to hear about just Creatures' experience working outside of Uganda, working with people that don't live here or subscribe to this culture. Because I honestly believe, your cartoons are nice, don't get me wrong. But I feel like beyond these borders, something bigger took you there. Something more exemplary, that stands out of, the normal work culture or the normal representation of a Ugandan animator. And for me, I feel like it goes a lot to how you run your business as well.
Also how you network. I guess that's also another thing, because I've been accused of being a serial networker, right? I've been accused
of
it, right? I don't know, let's just say it. Well, I'm here sitting on this thing, so probably
considering you have a product with Disney Plus, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I guess here's the thing. The worst thing that can happen is someone says no. Right? Or someone says no, or of course you have to be polite, but the worst thing is that someone can say no. I talk, wherever I go I talk. I talk, I love talking, I love conversation.
Hi, have we met?
and I love hearing more about the other people, because I know that when I come back to Uganda, the access to these people is very limited. So every time I travel, I make it a point to ingest as much information as I can. And you might think I'm talking to, like when I went to LA, you would think that I spent a lot of time talking to the directors and the writers. You know, these are people you go and talk to. Yeah, those guys, right? And I did talk to those people too. But the most interesting conversation I had was with a lady who was a recruiter. Because these huge companies we love and adore and are trying to emulate, they rely on the people who are recruiting to get them the right people, right? So they know what drives the company. And I sat down, and I'd never even thought about a recruiter. I just met her randomly. She was just standing there, and I was like, we're going to talk, right? It was like, me? I was like, yep. Then I was like, what do you do? What's up? Then she started telling me she was a recruiter, and I was like, that's fascinating. And we're still friends too today. You picked the right person.
So,
and it was just fascinating, because she told me, and I won't mention like the studio or the person, but the thing is, she told me like, what different studios look for, what the art of being a recruiter is. And I was like, this is something that I would have never considered in Uganda. But
she gave you Sasi.
Yet we're kind of doing it, because when we're recruiting people, we're looking for a particular kind of person, you know?
Yes.
And, but we had never like said we are recruiting. You get what I mean? Like there's like it's a job, you know? So hearing that, I can't obviously one-for-one do it here in Uganda, but the knowledge she has imparted, I now go and say, hey, Robin, listen, I go and tell some of my teammates. And now they're all aware about, now they have like a sensitivity about who we bring into the team. So if we bring in somebody, I say, what do you think? And all of them are operating on the recruiter's knowledge. You get what I mean, right?
That.
And it's just interesting, because like when I boil it down like this, it feels like it's like a thing we're writing down.
No,
it's super organic.
I get it.
It's super organic, and it goes. We have strange conversations in our office, you know, and I talk about a lot of things. I listen to a lot of things from my teammates, and so I tell them, yo guys, do you know that recruiters exist? And they're like, what the hell is a recruiter, you know? And I'm like, then I just start telling them stuff, and it's just a fascinating thing, and they're like, that makes a lot of sense, that the sensibility of this company isn't the same. Like one of the things that Robin and I got obsessed with at some point. I spend a lot of time with Robin. We talk about a lot of things. But why is it that every single time you watch something from HBO, it just feels like an HBO thing?
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like an Amazon thing. It doesn't feel like
CW
a Netflix thing. Or a CW thing.
Yes.
Do you know that there are executives who make those decisions? That's not an HBO thing. This is how you make it more HBO.
From script level or?
From all levels, the whole company is designed to make a thing an
look
HBO
like
thing.
HBO.
And so I'm like, what's the identity of our company? You know, these are things people don't think about. You spend more time trying to learn how a camera works.
Yes.
But you don't spend a lot of time learning what type of camera operator you're looking for. You know, because one camera operator will give you Star Wars, right? Another operator will give you Generations. Another camera operator, because you can give you can give a camera operator who is on the CW an IMAX camera, and maybe because he has never used an IMAX, he just won't know how to make it look like it looks. You shoot it, right? It's just the same as, just because everyone now has a phone, doesn't mean that you're all filmmakers, but it also, a new type of filmmaker emerges. I know that's another conversation, but it doesn't mean that you know how to shoot like Roger Deakins. You don't know how to
tell the story you're trying to tell.
You don't know how to do that. Like they can put you in the same room, and that's also very humbling for me, because I said, we keep on crying about resources, but if we give you all the money, would you still make that film? There's a lot that goes into making a film, and that's why I love it. It has less to do with just the machine. It has more to, sorry, I know you called an animator in, but we're talking about like some life lessons.
I'm not opposed to where the conversation is going, because this essentially is the business of entertainment. And these are notes that are usually ignored, and that's why I'm blown away by how you've managed to put this together.
That's what I focus on mostly.
Which is great, because who else is going to do it? Who else is going to do it? Yeah, skills can be taught. I appreciate
like the
that.
Identity, the magic, the source, the camaraderie between people. it's very difficult to build.
How does that feed into your storytelling as Creatures Animation?
Yeah, so I think I'll be honest, we're still young. I think the audience is telling us, our films and our audience are telling us the identity of the film.
Yeah.
Like they're responding and saying, we like that, we like how this is, we like that humor, we like that, you know. Mm-hmm. So I do have a particular type of humor, I guess I have, that I impart on screen, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that we're still building that identity. So I can't give you a straight answer about that. But
I wouldn't say a straight answer, but in terms of, because you collect human information from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And
in terms of my storytelling. Okay.
In terms of your storytelling. And I dare say you have a deep understanding of what the human experience can be, should be.
I try to. I'm a study.
You're an explorer of the human experience.
Yes, that's it. Actually, that's a good way to put it. Like,
so at least that's what I'm getting from you. So, and a person like that is a decent storyteller.
You would hope so.
That's what I'm decent, right?
Decent,
so that's what I want to know, like how this exploration of the human experience feeds into your storytelling. Because, you know, you talked a bit about that for AKalabanda Ate My Homework, and even when you were testing the market, you know, who you were speaking to, how they were responding, stuff like that. It's a
choice of subject matter. A dog ate my homework, AKalabanda ate my homework. It's very easy for somebody abroad to understand what you're talking about. He's like, that word there, I can't even say it, but I understand it ate my homework. And he knows something like that in his, and we're like, those decisions are very key. And it's not like, there's one thing to just name it that. There's another thing to take the film in a direction that is both unexpected, because the way we decided to tell it has very little to do with the AKalabanda, right? And has more to do with just the situation of trying to get away with your homework. And just the archetypes, you know, like one of the characters is called Chibe, which comes from the word Echibe, which is a fox. A fox, it's a fox. So like in Uganda, the language is, that guy is fox to me, man. So like the guy was a fox from the beginning, you know? And I remember when I was at the premiere, what killed me in the premiere was like when I was watching the premiere, there was one moment that had to make everyone laugh. If it did not, the film was not going to work.
What do you mean?
And like I have those moments in most of my films whereby I'm like, if people do not get this part, it could be if they don't feel sad, the moment they don't empathize with the character. I have that key moment. So with Chibe, it was when he said, Tendo, I would never laugh at you. What was it, right? And when the premiere, people were like, that guy is lying. I was like, the film is going to be okay. You know, right? Because like,
but it was so evident. I think also in his stance, there's something his physical being.
You don't know how much we tweaked that thing.
What do you mean?
Like we tweaked it to make sure that the body language told the audience that this guy is definitely at some point he's going to fox this guy. And then we do a good job of making you forget about him. And then when it comes back, you're like,
we knew.
There he is, you know, right? And so,
but that's also what shows the deep understanding of human experiences. I like that. Do we see that in the other work, like Kizazi Moto?
Like with Herder Boy. So Herder Boy. So Kizazi Moto. It's funny because Ugandans pronounce it as Chizazi Moto because we say Chi here because Ki is usually Chi, but it's Kizazi Moto. But you said Chizazi Moto, but it's okay.
Uganda.
It's okay. It's Kizazi Moto.
So it was a series.
It's an animated series on Disney Plus, and so it's different directors across Africa, so I did the Ugandan episode, which was episode 1, which is really cool. And it was about a 3-year project, right? To do about 12 minutes of animation. So it was 12 minutes, but feature quality animation. Ooh. And there was about 100 people who worked on it, on my film, about 1,000 people across Kizazi Moto.
But 100
just on my team. And so my teammates, about 5 of them worked on it. I was able to get them to be part of the project. It was mostly done in South Africa and different artists across the world. And it's interesting because I remember so a lot of the projects that I try to develop, and I know a lot of artists will relate with this. Sometimes you have a lot of stuff in your head.
Yes.
And when you're trying to tell people this is what I'm trying to make, you can't blame them for not understanding it.
They're not
right?
in your head.
So Kizazi Moto for me was like one of the most perfect projects that came, right? And we can get into the entire pitching project because there were 74 people, I learned later,
You had to pitch?
Yeah.
I thought they came looking for you.
They came looking for people to pitch.
Oh.
And then
you had to
and
pitch.
then you had to pitch and make it. And they didn't tell us how many they were looking for. So I just kept on saying, if they're looking for one person, it has to be me. So I just kept on working hard, you know, right? But they ended up being 14 people. Some films have two, there are 10 films, but some films have 2 directors.
Okay.
I directed and wrote my film. I also, I had, I also got a script supervisor, somebody who was like a co-writer later on, right, to just help and learn.
Was that to keep it Disney standards?
No, not necessarily. And that's the funny thing about Kizazimoto. We were told don't make it Disney. You know, we were told not to make it Disney. We were told make something interesting. What would you do? You know, of course there are limits. Don't go and cut off someone's head and like blood spills everywhere.
Well, that's interesting.
But like that, we were given a lot of free reign. But I think the challenge with Kizazimoto was, you quickly learn that just because we're on the continent, a South African doesn't know how Uganda operates. So the things that they take for granted are things that mean so much to me as a Ugandan, right? So if I say Gwe, somebody writes it, says, what's this word doing in the script? Is it a typo, right? But I'm like, no, that's a Ugandan thing. You have to leave it in there. And there was that battle for a while. And they're looking for things to cut down the time, right? And they're like, it's a repetition. This. And I'm like, no. The guy has to say EE because there are people in Uganda who are going to understand EE, and that's what makes it a Ugandan film. And then they are there. And so those are the things. And luckily, like eventually, like people came around to it. But in the beginning, it was so hard. It was so hard because you're jumping in. This is your first project like this. Most of the people on your team are way more experienced than you in terms of what they've worked on and everything. And you step into those shoes and you kind of have to quickly adjust and say, yeah, he has a lot of experience doing that, but he doesn't know how to make a Ugandan film. You have to do that. But it's like it's a curve, you know? It's a curve.
Sounds like you were putting your foot down a lot.
You had to at some points. I defended some things, you know. My film, just for people who might not have watched it. So it's Herder Boy, and it's about futuristic cattle herders. It's based on the Bachwezi, actually. So what I did is that I took artistic liberties with the Bachwezi. I
with some of our materials too.
Yeah, I just so like in that world, the Bachwezi are actually a fusion of different cultures. So what they do is that guy speaks in Luganda, that guy replies in another language, and no one makes a fuss about it because we all understand the languages. That is the Ugandan way. Yeah, exactly. And I just said, let's just embrace it. Let me not force people to speak this language, not speak. So they spoke Kiswahili. They spoke. I think we have, what language does Omara speak again? Lango. I think it was Lango. Lango. And then we had Luganda. Of course, Luganda has to be there. And then the names, it takes place in Western Uganda. I got inspiration from Kisoro and Kabale. And then obviously the longhorned cattle. And so the futuristic cattle herders. And it was really cool because my pitch to Disney was along the lines of the animation industry in Africa has been ignored for a long time. So the subject matter that I chose in my film was I was looking for a profession that has stayed in place and stayed stagnant and is ignored. So I looked for a cattle herder. So it's one of the oldest professions in Africa and probably even the world as well. What I did is that I said, if I can make cattle herders cool, right? And somebody in Uganda watches that, maybe they can say, wait, what else in the country can we make cool? So like, here's the thing, because like we keep on starting from outside to find meaning, right? But I think there's a lot that we can learn from just looking around every day. Like you pass by a cattle herder every single day.
Tell us how much you fought to keep Uganda.
Like the hat, the guy's hat. Yeah. He has that black and whatever hat.
Yeah.
I was told, oh, yo, man, but that's kind of cheesy. How can a person be wearing the Ugandan flag? I told the guy is rocking the Ugandan flag.
How is that cheesy?
And he's looking good in it. And I said, we tried other hats. I said, they don't work. The Ugandan one works. Yeah. And we put it in there. And immediately, you know, the film never mentions Uganda.
But it's seen.
You just see it. The Ugandans know it's a Ugandan film. Yeah. And I was just like, that's an achievement. And I was talking about the fact that there are many artists out there who have ideas in their head, and it's very hard to convince people to get them made, right? And Kizazimoto was the perfect project for me because what we were told was go all out, do something wild, you know? And you rarely get that opportunity. Because if you think about
with the budget.
Yeah, with that budget. if you think about that film for a second,
Yeah.
it's a film that, okay, the truth is that most of the films I've tried to pitch, even AKalabanda Ate My Homework, they're never really taken. You know, because it sounds insane when
in terms of the story that it's telling, or
I think it's the novelty of the story, because like you're saying, AKalabanda Ate My Homework. Somebody hears that and says, why would anyone want to watch that? And I'm like, I hear you, but just watch the animatic or read the script and you'll see the direction we're going with it.
Yeah.
And some people don't get that far, or they enter with a bunch of cynicism, you know? And I'm like, okay, fine, I might just have to show you.
Yeah, this is still at pitch level.
Yeah, so like, for Disney, it wasn't like that. For them, actually, they were, I remember telling Disney and Triggerfish, after to give Triggerfish, the South African studio that pitched the project to Disney.
Okay.
I told them that you guys have to understand that every single time I'm writing something, I'm writing with a cap in my brain, right? Because I always assume, how am I going to make it here in Uganda with the resources I have? So I told them that, please, if you want me to go harder, tell me.
Yeah.
So, this is what happened, and I'll
They
explain it
removed
to you.
the cup.
And the great thing about Kizazimoto is that my cap has forever remained removed.
After?
Forever.
Isn't that freeing?
I have an inability to think small. An inability. And that's the thing, because like in Uganda, you're trapped. You're trapped.
You have to work.
You're like, but where am I going to eat tomorrow? Where am I going to do this, right? And so what that project did for me was I pitched this. They came and said, you're holding back. 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 Then you're like, okay, we're gonna make it. Then when you enter production, budget conversations come in. They say like, we can't make your thing, right? You have to take it down, take it down, take it down, take it down, take it down. Then you're like, why did you make me pitch this thing? But then the thing is that you remember at some point that this is where you were originally.
Yes.
This is where they took you, and now you're making this. So you're
Which
still
is
making
much bigger.
Bigger than this. And so the thing is, I just tell my team, I tell myself, dream. Dream, 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 just dream. It's going to be taken away anyway. If you dream as far as this, they're going to take it down here. If you dream as far as this, they're going to take it down here anyway, right? But if you dream like this, you try your best to maintain as much as possible. So that's how I operate now. So
I like that. I feel like even when you dream very big, you start working out the more manageable ways.
it's going to happen anyway.
Yes, to make it
It's going
work.
to happen anyway, yeah.
Ways will show themselves.
Yeah,
That
and
is so powerful.
And that's the thing. So I think, like my project with Kizazimoto is futuristic cattle herders.
Yes.
Of course, I can tell you like the buzzwords I used to get it pitched, but then if you look at it just for what it is and you try to write down what it is.
Can use those words as well?
No, I think, like I personally am not against AI. If you want to enter that conversation, I think that it's a tool just like any.
What are the buzzwords? I want to hear the buzzwords.
So mine was, you in order to pitch something, you have to ground it to the people that you're pitching it to. So what I said was, America has the cowboys, the East has samurai, Africa we have cattle herders. You don't need me to explain anything more than that, because we've all watched the spaghetti western. We've watched the Chanbara film, these samurai films, and I'm like, I'm just trying to do something for Africa.
And you brought them to the room with you right there.
Yes, and so in that moment there, everyone sees what I'm trying to do, even if it's not clear. I also don't know what it's going to look like because it's not been done. I also don't know, but I know where my inspirations are, they're clear. And so if you're ever pitching something to somebody, it's very good to try your best to meet them where they are, right? And that doesn't mean compromising what you want. It just means, this is what I really want to make, but this is what you understand. And
So
then
them.
they come in. And then when they come in, they say, I don't know what he's doing, but I know we're making something to do with cowboys, you know, right? And I'm like, yeah. Then like someone tells you, so I got the hills of Kisoro, but I dried them up to make them look more like the back west, you know, the west. So immediately it just feels like one of those things. And even the lenses we're using, the way we're choosing to shoot it, some of the shots, we're trying our best to use what spaghetti western or the samurai films would use. We're trying our best to do that, you know. But then again, it's not one of those films, so you can't like hold yourself too much to it, you know.
And then you also have to remember you're Ugandan.
Yeah. My film has a hyena that shoots electricity out of its body. What is that?
Why?
So here's the thing.
Because there has to be a story. Why does that?
No, I can't get into all of it.
Just enough to give me an idea on how y'all's minds work.
Okay, so first of all, why am I doing animation? I always ask myself this question whenever I'm trying to do something animated. It has to be something that could only be probably take advantage of the tools that exist in the medium.
Okay.
So if I wasn't going to do this in animation, I would have to do it in VFX, right? So I try to come up with ideas that take advantage of the medium. So they're futuristic cattle herders. They can't just be hunting any type of hyena, right? Or like who's coming to attack them. So I'm like, yo man, what power would this hyena have that would be able to go toe to toe with augmented tech advanced herders? I'm like, this thing can throw out an EMP and kill them out, you know? And so like, it just kind of happens like that.
Yeah.
So the predator in this world is a different kind of predator. And then somebody comes in and they're like, this is a very interesting world. And it's escapism. And that's one of the things we don't do here in the country and in Africa as a whole. Yeah. Most of the times when I see it a lot in live action, and there's a place for things like that, like the soaps and
rom-coms.
Yeah, and the rom-coms.
Yeah.
That is one aspect of Hollywood, you know?
Yeah.
Or the movie industry. But there's room for escapism. And I feel like escapism has not been taken advantage of in Uganda, Africa, which is sometimes I just want to go to the theater and say, that's a cool world, I wish I was there.
We've stopped looking for cool world. I think that's one of my, I guess, drawings, what draws me to animation, because I'm a very animated person in life.
I can see.
It shows in life. So for me to be able to feel comfortable every day, it's a myth. I'm asking for too much, right? So the places that I feel comfortable are really those worlds, like animated worlds, because it kind of seems like the rules don't apply many times.
And yeah, like, and if I was to tell a story about Uganda in a futuristic world, why would I choose to make the Ugandans look bad? We have a lot of problems here. I can show the ugly side, but I can also show an aspirational side.
Beautiful
you know,
side.
I can do that, and that's the beauty of like the medium I'm in. I get to do these things, you know. So for me, Herder Boy was transformative because it also opened up a lot of doors for me in terms of whenever I meet somebody who struggles with like a pitch I have, you know, because my pitches are kind of wild, to be honest with you. Like. Honestly, like I'm not trying to claim like I have the wildest things, but like they are pretty wild, you know.
I want to sit in a room when you're pitching. God, make it happen.
And my pitches look no different from this.
No, I want.
Like honestly, just a conversation.
When the stakes are real.
I don't know. Like I feel like when the stakes are real is when I'm actually most like this.
Really?
Funny enough, it's actually when I'm most like this. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna level with you. I am freaking out right now. But I'm going to just tell you my story anyway.
But I think that's what makes people give you their money, because it's like, this is a real person.
But here's the thing, like that could be one aspect of it. And of course, there are also other people who don't want to work with you because of those sensibilities.
Of how real you are.
Some other people, they want you to be very bureaucratic and this. And I'm like, I will work with the people, hopefully, who enjoy. I want to enjoy. It's already difficult making one of these things. I don't want to start with stress. I want to start with excitement, and the stress will find us anyway. It's going to find us anyway. So I want to be like, let's think of this cool idea. Someone's like, but that's going to be difficult to do. I know it's going to be difficult to do, but why are you worrying about how difficult it's going to be now?
Let's first build the idea.
Let's first get excited. Then we'll break our hearts later. Because it's going to happen either way.
I love that method.
It's just going to, because I just dream constantly writing. I constantly just come up with things. I tell somebody something, and then they're like, how would that work? I'm like, I also don't know, but I think it's cool. It's going to be cool, right? Right? Actually, one of the things I used to tell my team very early on was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but wouldn't it be amazing if it did? You know?
Oh my God.
That's literally how I think. Because like everything we're talking about, like from the studio, like when we started Creatures with Robin, we're like, Robin, I don't know if this is going to work out, man. But wouldn't it be so amazing if it did, you know? And now we're in that space where it's starting to make some sense, and we have to just hold on to that and not be stupid, you know, and just keep on making the right decisions. And here's the thing, for people who are starting out, for you to understand this, just know that it's not a lot of things that you were wishing you had when you were starting out will happen. Okay. But when you get there, right, there'll be so many other decisions you have to make, right, that you will forget that this is a place that you wanted to be at some point before. And so I've started saying, wait, there was a time when no one would take a phone call. No one wanted to listen to me. No one wanted an interview. And I'll be like, I listen to someone's interview and I'm like, I could say that better, you know?
I'd give more.
I could do this. He should have said this. So now that you're here, why are you complaining? I'm glad. I'm happy that you're interviewing me, you know? Like, it's great. It's a chance to talk to people. It's a chance to impart some knowledge, and hopefully it's helpful. Because how did I get this knowledge? By listening to people.
You know, that's it. You've just helped me with something I've been struggling with. So I like... No, in a good way.
Oh, okay.
In a good way. I like conversation, right? But I've been in mainstream media for 9 years. And mainstream media is very curated in conversation. There's certain places you can't go. There's certain explorations, like this conversation would probably never air on live TV because it's a real conversation. What people want to hear is hit the point or give me something shocking or excite me.
I've done a couple of those.
You've been there for exactly. So I've been struggling with just the freedom of being able to have these conversations without necessarily releasing that part of my career. And I think I've been struggling with it because maybe guilt, I don't know. But I've wanted to be here for a long time. And I think
it's great.
I've just received it right now.
I think one of the most... You're welcome. I don't know exactly what I did, but you're welcome.
No, like you just saying it out loud, I feel released. I feel like, I'm very happy here.
I just think that there's so many things happening in our country, on our continent, that are not exactly encouraging, right? A lot of things. That it makes us forget the beautiful things that we have. We have amazing weather here in Uganda.
The best.
Yeah, we're the best, we have, I think, amazing people, beautiful people. I think we have, even the landscapes and stuff like that.
Scenery.
And even beyond all of that, just bring it to a more decentralized explanation. We have Ugandans. And the thing is that there's so much stuff going on in this thing called society, if I'm to put it that way, that person has their own problems, that they extend that energy to you, and that other person does this, and there's other government, then there's policy.
We're all just linking chains of problems.
That you almost forget what you want, what you aspire to do. And I feel envious sometimes when I go to other countries, and a person is not, when you hear what he's complaining about, or she is complaining about, you're like, you don't know that it's a luxury to not complain about a bad road. You know, you don't know that it's a luxury. And so the person is, even just from the get-go, they are born into a place where they are freer to think about some things. As we have to make an effort to do it, you know. You have to not forget to dream, right? And so
I have to be on your schedule.
It has to. It has to. And so I wherever I can, of course, sometimes there are reality checks in the country where electricity has gone. But me, I'm like, electricity has gone. It has screwed us over. But I'm like, but I can write. I can still think, I can still dream. And I spend more time, yes, you said we're mad. I'm slightly mad, I guess, but I spend a lot of time in here, in worlds that don't exist. And I'm like, in that world there, the road doesn't do this. In that world there, and I'm like, as an artist, I feel a responsibility. And if I get an opportunity to portray my country, or to portray a story from where I'm from, I would love it to be aspirational, because that's a choice. right? So what I loved about Kizazimoto, just to go back, they told us, do not do anything with AIDS, don't do anything with cancer, do not do anything. They didn't want these other things.
Africa bait.
They wanted something cool, imaginative escapism. And I was like, now you're speaking my language, man. Let's do it. Here's a hyena. Give it electricity. Make the cattle do this. Make them do this. Guys are like, yeah, now we're talking, right? And like you get excited, you know?
It's refreshing, I think.
It's very refreshing. Even like Kunda and Friends, just going to Kunda and Friends.
Let's go into Kunda and Friends. I'm a huge fan.
So Kunda and Friends.
Thank you.
The Kunda and Friends, the task is a bit different there. So on the surface, we're making a kids show. We are affected so much by what we watched growing up. To a degree that we underestimate. And it's even getting worse now because like social media is in your face all the time. At least those days it was scheduled programming. If you missed the show, you missed it. You get it, right?
You either wait for a repeat or it's not coming back.
But like now it's like, I'm exposed to this person. I'm exposed, and I'm not trying to say that it's bad. Social media has its advantages, but I think it is very important to have a generation of children who grow up in a world where they didn't even know a Ugandan studio couldn't make an animation program. And that's what I'm doing. That's literally what I'm trying to do. All those kids who are getting fans of Kunda and Friends, they're going to grow up and one day when they're 15, 16, they'll be like, oh yeah, I used to watch that show, right? And their foundational level isn't something that isn't African. Isn't something that they live in a world where they can say, I can also do an animation studio. Why not? Because there's one there, right? And so that's the real goal behind it for me. And of course, with our partners at Kunda Kids, who are actually the owners of it and we're the production partners, we shared like similar goals. And of course, I just think it's important. And so like with Kunda and Friends, as the episodes keep on going, we started with like more of a grounded approach, but we're starting to add more and more imagination into it because it's important for the children. Why is it that a child who grows up in America, Australia, or in the UK gets to watch a show that has a lot of imagination, but ours don't? Why? And then you ask yourself, when it comes to innovation, it comes to, and there are different approaches to this, but this is just the approach I'm deciding to critique this time, right now. How do you expect that child to compete with somebody who has been imagining since being told imagination is okay?
And given permission.
And permission to dream. You see, so my stance is give those kids the permission, you know, and let them dream, let them enjoy, let them know. And it works on several levels. It is, the studio is making it here in Uganda. We are on episode 26. It's coming out this weekend, right? We started last year in January. When I told my team we're going to do an animated kids show, they asked me how many episodes. I said, that's not the question you should be asking me. I said we're going to do an animated. In the back of my mind, I had a target, right? And we had never done one. We had done AKalabanda, Ate My Homework, took 2 years to do. Kizazimoto, Disney Resources, 3 years to do. Kunda and Friends, we've never done it. Now you're asking me to do the equivalent of AKalabanda, Ate My Homework every single month.
Consistent release.
It's ridiculous. But now we're on episode 26.
Look at that.
You know, and that's the thing. And it has less to do with the production of it. That's one aspect. But it's about the fact that these children will grow up and they'll say, I was a fan of a show that was made here. You don't have the luxury of saying that.
No, which is crazy because you're saying you're giving kids permission to dream. Bruh, you're giving adults permission to dream.
And that's also the other aspect of it. Like there are adults who are artists who are saying, wait, I didn't even know we could do this here. I'm like, well, we can. And we're going to do way more than this, you know. And that's just the way I move, you know. I move with that energy. Every time I'm asked to introduce myself, this time you introduced me, so you didn't hear it. But every time I'm asked to introduce myself, I stopped saying I'm a CEO, blah, blah, blah. I am CEO of Creatures Animation Studio, but I prefer to say I am a dreamer. That is who I am, and I stopped denying it. When I'm walking around, I see a chapati guy, I see a story. I can't help myself. When I go there, I see this thing, I can't help myself. And I love having conversations with people who are not letting the surroundings of the country limit their dream.
Oh man.
That's it.
I feel like you should open like a motivational channel on YouTube or something. Animated AI voice. We'll take it.
I have enough. I have enough. Like my voice, you can train with this interview, and then you have an AI generated voice.
That's enough.
Right?
Like this interview is enough.
You'll be surprised what AI can do these
That
days.
scares me because my voice and parts are all over the internet. People can just create me.
I think AI is reminding us what it means to be human. In my opinion,
like that.
I think the more it's like we used to have people who do calculations in their head. Then the calculator is invented, and then you ask why were we doing calculations in our head in the first place? Why? What's wrong with you? I think whatever is going to happen, we're going to be more human, and that's great.
I
think
like
that's
that too.
That's fantastic.
Because I love speaking to creatives about the coming of AI. It's a different perspective every time. Every time. Unfortunately, I have to release you, but I don't want to. I'm a huge fan of Kunda and Friends. Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. Thank you. So Kunda and Friends, if you haven't watched, you have to watch. The reason I'm a huge fan of Kunda and Friends is mostly the singing. We underestimate the power of song or melody in a children's growth because that's what they're going to remember. And then Kunda and Friends went and released an Africa song naming all the countries in Africa. Can I be honest? It wasn't until I had that song that I realized some countries were in Africa.
Yeah. So Sao Tome and Principe, do people even know Sao Tome and Principe?
I didn't even know they were in Africa. Like I found that out the day I heard that song. So for me, it's not even, it's beyond what, you're helping the children, I guess, grow into. It's also us, like, we're reliving our childhood through those songs and remembering the power of song, the power of melody, the power of being a child, the power of dreaming, the power of color, the power of beautiful things.
We don't do it enough. We don't dream enough, man.
We don't dream enough.
I think all we dream, but it's I wouldn't say beaten, but it is taught out of us. Yeah. So I think it's I am on a mission to just make people dream, man.
I receive it. Take me with you if you can.
No, we're already going. We are
going. We are together. Okay, cool. I'm good. Thank you so much for watching this episode. You can catch it on YouTube and carry on the conversation. Ask Raymond all the questions that you want to ask. I will answer on his behalf.
Oh, good.
Yeah, in the comment section, of course. And if you have any more, inquiries about animation or what we have talked about today, those are welcome in the comment section as well, because we'll keep having these conversations, and hopefully one day we can actually have the whole Creatures team having been here.
Yeah, you should interview these guys. Yeah,
I would love to.
They're great. Yeah.
They are. I've met them. So this is great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching, and until next time.